Oh, try it again. Thank you guys. What's that?
So we do this one
Just hold it right
Ours the other day was the other one.
No, we didn't do it right. We have to redo it.
Get ready to go. There you go.
Finally.
That was funny.
If I use a larger test tube, what should happen? Should have a bigger explosion, right? If I use larger and larger, thinking back to your music stuff you've been talking about, the larger the instrument, usually what happens to the tone?
Bigger.
It's lower, right? Okay? So if I take the same exact concept, and we're going to use it in a little bit more scientific environment.
You have a lot of stuff hanging around that one.
I do. So this is kind of a neat instrument. This was actually created back in the day, like the early 1700s, by Lavoisier. So remember when we did our reading about who actually did this whole gas law thing?
Yeah.
This instrument was actually created by him. And basically what it is you've got your liquid at the top that you want to include in your reaction. It goes down through one tube, and there's another tube that comes out the backside. So there's actually two tubes going down in the reaction chamber. The gases then can come back up inside and will come out of this tube. Okay? So we can actually produce all the gases that we want just by opening this valve. And all the gases now are going to get pushed out of this container, up through this tube, and then going into our other chamber that we have here. Okay? So using a little bit more sophisticated system, we can have the exact same type of result that you guys have. So, bigger test tube, we have to wait for the reaction because we have to produce more hydrogen gas, right? Okay? And as this gas is now traveling through the tubes back up into our test tube, what we should be able to do is do the exact same thing you guys did, except that our reaction should be a little bit different this time. A little bit different tone, right? Okay. If we used a test tube that was, let's say, this size, what do we get? Actually, nothing would change all that much because what are the gases going to do? They're still going to do the exact same thing, right? If we got a tank of hydrogen and did that kind of stuff, then obviously we'd have kind of a nice big explosion. But for the most part, when we're dealing with test tubes, you can get a little bit different intonation. Like your guys' was a lot higher pitch than what this one was. A little bit different anyway. If we use tiny little test tubes, what kind of pitch are we going to get?
Really high.
Really high pitch, right? So it kind of changes the tone a little bit, but it doesn't really make much bigger of an explosion, really. It's a kind of cool thing. We will do some more of this stuff because we get to talk about the gases and how they react and that kind of stuff a lot more. But this is kind of a cool apparatus that you're going to see later on, and this is something that's like 300 years old now, which is kind of cool. And it's all just for doing this exact same experiment. You read in CK12 about Lavoisier and how he produced all these different types of apparatus that did the sealed environments type stuff. That was all his design, and the picture that they showed in that lab was actually part of this whole thing. Okay, so what did you think? Good lab, bad lab?
Good lab.